This is an overview of the QLA reporting system that's been created in Google Sheets. So, set up default like this. We need to make a copy to start off with. Once you have your copy, then you can start editing it. So, my school, put in your department, put in the name of the test. This is going to be used in the name of the files later on. And then start to put in information about the actual test itself. So, for example, you might start with multiple choice, paper 2. Then you've got paper 4 part. So these are the broad sections that you're going to have. Next, you put in the number of question parts you're going to have. And you see on there, it's the number of individual parts. So if you've got question 1, 2, 3, and question 1 has got part A and part B, question 2 is A and B, question 3 is A and B, then that is 6 question parts. So it's the individual numbers you're going to be putting in there, how finely you're going to break it down. Now, multiple choice up there, I just put that as 30 because there are 30 questions. And then the second part is where I need to actually look through the paper before we carry on. So I've got 23 parts, and as I did that, a lot of things just appeared there. So let's have a quick look at this now. These are basically warnings. If you look in the middle there, where it says number of rows in your report sheet, 57, maximum number of rows, approx 43. So having 30 in part 1 and 23 in part 2 gives me 53 rows, and then there's going to be some extra rows for subheadings and things like that. So I'm up to about 57 rows, and it's warning me that this will probably not fit on one page, which is what you often want. So a couple of choices: reduce the number of parts by bringing things together, or as it says there, you can actually go and later on try and squeeze things by enlarging a column, and things like that will happen. Okay, so just giving you a warning that you can ignore if you want to. In this particular test, I'll probably take a different route, because remember, I've got those 30 multiple choice questions. I've got 23 in the other part. So if I go to hide the multiple choice, it will still give me the summary of the multiple choice, but won't show me every single question. Okay, so it's happier now. So carry on to the next part. Topics. So this test might have mechanics and forces, energy. So I can put in up to 8 topics. And then the skills. So might have basic recall and calculations. And this is what the QLA is really going to be focused on, the topics and the skills, being able to identify where students are having problems. After that, we can put in some grade boundaries and just put something basic in at the moment. This will help the system know how many different grades there are going to be. Okay, so I've put in all those. So if I put them in just as 0, it's tempting, but actually that will cause a problem later on. So actually, get rid of the star on this one. What I'm actually going to want to do is just make them different values, otherwise the system tries to ignore some of them. Anyway, now we can go and run the script at the top there, QLA reporting script. Click on run, and it should run through. You might get permissions dialogues, but you'll just click on OK for those anyway. And it says what it's doing. It's now creating the new spreadsheet, because it's going to make another new version of this. Hide the unwanted sections, hiding excess questions, setting up the skills and topics tables, and before too long it will be done. So it needs to hide the extra stuff. Now need to go and create your own folder for the reports to go in, and we're done. There we go. Alright, so what I would then do is go and delete this, move to the bin. Actually, I might not delete it straight away normally, but if I delete that, go to my folder, and you see now I've got QLA reporting practice examination, which is what I named my file. So open it up, title's already in there. See how the order of the sheets has changed. Data's now at the front. Setup's next. Reporting is the PDF, which is actually looking quite good now. But back to the data, we now need to start filling things in. So we put names in. Now we just copy and paste because our sheets have got the same format at the start. But put names in, it'll warn you if you've got two people with the same name. And all you really need is the name, and you need the email. The email is going to be used as the unique identifier for the students. And my folder, we've actually got individual Google Drive folders for each student, and if you put the link or the ID, or the link I think it is, to the students folder in there, then you can run this script and it'll actually send the PDF of this to that student so that only they can see their own report. Saves printing them out. So let's put them into students into different groups. Groups are different classes, so then it's up there and I can choose which one I'm going to be focused on for printing. And as I said, the emails need to be unique. Report folder ID. Now, you need to do this manually. Go back to anywhere you want. It doesn't have to be in here, but you create a new folder. It doesn't matter what you call it. Go to that folder and copy the link. Sorry, that's hidden from up here. But I'm actually just copying the ID from the URL and then pasting that in there. And now it knows where it's going to send the PDFs for the whole class. That's going to be like the school's copy, and those my folders will give us the students have their own copies as well. Right, now we get to filling it in. First thing I might do, I might go and put names in for the questions. This is for the PDF, nothing too elaborate. Don't even put a lot in, just basically what the skill is, what the topic is about on this. As you can see on that reporting, which will be the PDF, those names are now present. Then the real meat of it. So we had those topics over here that we were worried about, and they got A, B and C above them. So mechanics is A, force is B, energy C. If we go back over to the questions, then there's a cell that warns us which one it is. But I'm just going to put A's in here and B's in here and C's in here, which are telling me that these particular questions are on the specific topic. So A was on mechanics, remember. So now we know which topic each individual question is related to. And this is the essence of the question level analysis. We do need to put in the legwork to actually tell us what the questions are about. It now tells us we've got 10 questions on mechanics, 14 on forces, etc. The other bit was the skills, which was 1s, 2s and 3s. So go and put that information in. Alright, so 1 was recall, 2 was calculations, I think I made it. So now we are really making sure that we are specifying what each of those questions are about. Then this last one up here is how many marks there are. You could put in multiple choice, it's just 1 mark each. But I've also added something, assuming it's 1 mark each, if we put in the answer instead. Then when you come to enter the student data, you can actually type in what the students wrote, which will give you a bit of extra information. Maybe it tells you that all the students were putting in B, but the answer was A. And And then you can go and have a look to see what the misconception was. Obviously on the written part, the questions are not just going to be A, B's and C's, so we'll put in the number and how many marks it's out of. So that's it, basically set up. You now see it's 31 out of 77 for mechanics, we've got 37 out of 7 for recall, so we can see what the basic split up of the paper is. Although it's probably a bit too late now because you've already written it, but still, the information's there. Now students go and do the test, and you come to mark it, and there's an annoying thing about the A1s and A2s, but maybe I should change that at some point. Anyway, you start to put in the students' marks, or rather for the multiple choice, what they answered. And you can see that it's going to add it up. Let's say that they put A for that one, gets an extra mark because the answer was A. And how many points, how many scores they marked on these. So just put it, oops, that one's gone black. That's because the question was out of 1 and the student put 2. Now put an X, which you might want to do to show that the student didn't attempt that question. Oops, gone over the top again. And now we've got all the marks in for that particular student. We can see they got 55% on paper 2, giving them an overall grade of 43%. And you can see that the forces was their best, it's green. Energy was their worst, it's orange. Describe was their best, green. Calculations worst, orange. And there's also some color coding at the top to show which questions the whole group was having most problems with. And if I scroll all the way down, there's some color coding at the bottom doing the same kind of thing. I'll let you look at that by yourselves. And that's it, we're now pretty much ready. So let's go over to the reporting tab, and this is, we don't need to go in here normally, but we do need to have a look. So I'm just going to make sure I've got one of my students. Let's say we've got John, and look at that, looking beautiful. Color coding for each individual question. It's got the grey boundaries which are matching what we had here. Now might be sensible to go and put in some real grey boundaries once we've got all the students' results. And back over here, so now you've got the grey boundaries, the student's got a grade, and that's ready to use with the student. So what we're then going to do is go back to the data sheet, and remember we've got the reporting folder ID, we've got the method up here to be able to run the sheet. So if I go to save a single report for testing, I could do it for the whole class. Okay, doing the whole class, it's going to need permissions, so click OK, read it if you really want to. This does actually have quite a lot of power here, so you really should look at this in case there's something in there that's going to go and delete every document in Google Drive. Anyway, select right class, run the report, and you can see now there's a cell just popped up being yellow. Please wait running. It's running it for John. This lets other users know that someone's running the script. So if two people in different rooms see that happening, they know they shouldn't try and run the script at the same time. Okay, it's done. Let's go back to that folder, and that's the PDF. That can be printed, it can be stored somewhere. We can do what we want with it. If I go back and now run it for the class, then it's going to run it for everyone in class A. If it's already been run for the students in class A and it goes into the folder, it will delete the file that's already there first and put a new PDF in. Now, because the first one was a test report, it didn't overwrite it, but you can see I've got standard structure with the name, the class, and the student's name. There's the PDF, and that would have been run for every student in the class. There's also other script, remember, that will send it to the students' individual folders, which obviously you need to set those up individually. Powering all of this is some JavaScript. So in Tools, you don't need to look at this normally, but in App Scripts, we have a number of different sheets here. So QLA Export Sheet, that's the one that sends the PDFs out. Okay, so I put comments into these. The setup sheet is the one that actually creates everything, and that's the one that's probably the most important and the most complicated. But I've tried to put comments in, so if someone knows what they're doing with JavaScript, they might be able to figure it out and make adjustments. Normal use, no one ever looks at this. I'm the only person who's ever looked at those sheets. And that is the QLA reporting spreadsheet.